You are working harder than you have ever worked in your life, and you have less to show for it than you did 10 years ago. That is not an accident. If you are over 45 and you feel like the rules of money changed without anyone telling you, you are right. The system was never designed to make you wealthy. It was designed to keep you productive. It was designed to keep you busy. It was designed to keep you just comfortable enough not to question it. Here is the belief shift you need right now. The greatest wealth secret in history is not sitting in a stock portfolio. It was written down 2,000 years ago in the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 33. And Andrew Carnegie, the man who died with wealth equivalent to over $300 billion in today's currency, did not read it as a prayer. He read it as a strategic operating system. Napoleon Hill spent 20 years inside the minds of the 500 wealthiest people who ever lived. What he found was not a financial formula. It was a frequency, a state of mind, a way of relating to value, to purpose, and to the invisible forces that govern material reality. In this video, you will discover what that frequency is, why the modern economy is specifically engineered to keep you away from it, and how to use what Hill called infinite intelligence to begin attracting rather than chasing the life you were built to live. Stop chasing, start understanding. You were told a story. Work hard, save your money, be disciplined, be loyal, and over time the system will reward you. An entire generation of men over 45 believed it completely because for a period of time it appeared to be true. But the invisible machinery of that system was never built on your freedom. It was built on your compliance. Picture this. You walk into a grocery store in 2019. Your cart costs you $100. You walk into that same store today, buy the exact same items, and you pay $140. Nothing in your cart changed. But $40 of the work you already did, the hours you already gave, quietly evaporated. A 44% increase on identical items. That is not a market fluctuation, that is extraction. And independent researchers tracking full grocery baskets confirm those numbers run more than double the official inflation figures reported in mainstream economic coverage. That gap between what the numbers say and what your wallet feels is not a coincidence. It is the structural design of a scarcity economy. A system engineered so that the purchasing power available to working people grows more slowly than the obligations placed upon them. The system manufactures lack by design, and you were never told. Inflation silently converts the value of every hour you already worked into a smaller and smaller fraction of what you thought you earned. American blue-collar workers in 2024 needed to work 36 more minutes than in 2019 just to buy the same grocery basket. 36 minutes of your life extracted quietly every single week. Napoleon Hill saw this clearly decades before modern economic policy made it undeniable. He wrote in Think and Grow Rich that riches do not respond to wishes, and they do not respond to raw effort alone either. The men who broke free from financial limitation were not the hardest workers in the room. They were the ones who had learned to generate value at a frequency the system could not tax, could not inflate away, and could not regulate out of existence. That frequency was rooted in a relationship with what Hill called infinite intelligence. The scarcity economy operates on one foundational assumption: that resources are limited, that competition is the primary law, and that the only way to gain is to take from someone else. Every advertisement you have ever seen, every financial news broadcast you have heard has been built on top of that assumption, but that assumption is a lie. And the antidote was written long before Hill was born. Pay attention. This next section changes everything. In 1908, a young journalist named Napoleon Hill sat across from the most powerful industrialist in the history of the United States. Andrew Carnegie had built the Carnegie Steel Company into a colossus. And yet what Carnegie said to Hill in that meeting was not about steel or supply chains. He said, in essence, that every fortune he had ever built began not with a plan, but with an alignment. Carnegie understood something most economists refuse to model. The men who achieve enduring prosperity are not the men who pursue money first. They are the men who pursue the thing that money is designed to represent, value delivered at scale to the world around them. This is the operating principle encoded in Matthew 6, verse 33. Seek first the kingdom, and all these things shall be added unto you. Carnegie framed this as a law of causation. When the primary orientation of your activity is toward the creation of genuine value, toward solving real problems for real people, the material reward becomes an inevitable consequence rather than a fragile pursuit. The kingdom was the domain of highest contribution. All these things were the financial returns that followed naturally. Napoleon Hill concluded after 2 decades of study that the shared characteristic of the 500 most successful individuals of his era was not intelligence, not education, not family background, and not luck. It was a specific orientation of mind toward a source he called infinite intelligence. Hill defined it as the force that gives order and origin to everything in the universe, the prime source of all that comes into existence, and taught that every limitation any person carries is one accepted or constructed inside their own mind. Here is what Hill taught. When a human mind becomes aligned with a definite purpose, backed by burning desire, organized into a concrete plan, and held with unwavering faith, it enters into resonance with infinite intelligence. Ideas flash into the mind that were not there before. Doors open that had no visible mechanism. Hill wrote directly on this. Infinite intelligence will not build you a home and deliver it ready to enter, but it will open the way and provide the necessary means with which you may build your own house. God, through the universal substance of infinite intelligence, does not circumvent your agency, it activates it. Carnegie's kingdom-first strategy was not a theological position. It was an economic one. Prioritize value creation. Anchor your purpose to something larger than personal accumulation, and let the natural law of compensation complete the circuit. Do not skip this next section. This is where the law gets practical. There are 2 ways to move through an economy. You can chase or you can attract. You know what chasing feels like. It feels like running on a surface that keeps moving backward beneath your feet. More hours, more hustle, more sacrifice, and always the sense that the finish line is receding. Chasing operates on the frequency of lack. Every action taken from a chasing mindset carries the embedded assumption that what you need is not here yet. And the universe, operating through the laws Hill spent a lifetime documenting, tends to confirm whatever signal you are broadcasting. The scarcity mindset is not a character flaw. It is a learned frequency installed by years of cultural messaging, financial trauma, and a school system that taught you to compete for limited grades rather than create unlimited value. The abundance frequency is not optimism. Optimism is an emotional posture. The abundance frequency is a metaphysical operating principle. It is the recognition that the source of all wealth is not in the money supply or the market. It is in the creative intelligence that animates reality itself. Most men spend their financial lives chasing money, working longer hours, hoping for a raise that never covers the gap, speculating in volatile markets, making reactive decisions based on this week's news cycle. Every move is a response to an external signal they did not generate and cannot control. The man who chases money is, by definition, operating from the assumption that money is somewhere other than where he is. Attracting money is the result of building systems of recurring value delivery, cultivating skills that grow more irreplaceable over time, creating assets that generate return regardless of whether you are in the room. The man who attracts operates from a fundamentally different premise. That value, consistently created and delivered, draws its own reward as naturally as a magnet draws iron. Biblical wisdom speaks directly to the rhythm that governs all economic systems. Consider Joseph in the book of Genesis. Pharaoh dreams of 7 fat cattle consumed by 7 lean cattle. Joseph recognizes what most men still fail to see in their own financial lives. The economy moves in a wave. It surges, peaks, and then drops hard before it climbs again. Joseph told Pharaoh to save 20% of every harvest during the 7 years of abundance so that when the famine arrived, Egypt would not be caught unprepared. The years of abundance in your life are not a reward to be consumed. They are a loading period. The years in which a disciplined man builds the reserves, the assets, and the systems that will make him not merely a survivor during the lean cycle, but the very source others come to for supply. Egypt became the economic power of the ancient world during the famine precisely because one man read the cycle correctly and built infrastructure during the expansion that could operate through the contraction. Napoleon Hill taught that the man who has no definite plan for his financial life will inevitably be absorbed into the plans of men who do. The economy operates on intention. The only question is whose intention you are serving. Build systems, not just habits. Systems. Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote his essay on compensation nearly a full century before Napoleon Hill published Think and Grow Rich. Yet both men were documenting the same law from different angles. Emerson wrote that no man can sincerely try to help another without helping himself. Hill built this into the architecture of his entire philosophy. The man who does more than he is paid for will soon be paid for more than he does. In that sentence, Hill captured the entire mechanics of the law of compensation. When you deliver more value than you receive in exchange, you create an imbalance in the natural law of reciprocity. That imbalance must be resolved. It may come as a promotion, a business opportunity, an idea, a windfall, but it will come. The law is self-enforcing. The only variable is time and the consistency of your contribution. Now here is where most people get stuck. They understand the concept. They even believe it, but they never make the transition from knowing this to living by it. And the reason is that they keep treating value creation as a transaction instead of as a system. Think of it this way. Carnegie did not sell steel by the pound to one customer at a time. He built a vertical system, from raw ore extraction to finished product delivery, that created value at every single stage simultaneously. That architecture is what separated him from every other hard-working man in his industry. The hard-working man delivers value once and gets paid once. The system delivers value continuously and gets paid continuously. Your domain works the same way. Whatever it is you know, whatever it is you can teach, explain, demonstrate, or solve, the moment you stop offering it in exchange for individual transactions and start building a mechanism that carries it forward without requiring your presence for every exchange, you have crossed into a different category of earner. A channel does that, a course does that, a book does that, a well-structured business with documented processes and trained people does that. And every return that flows back into that mechanism, sharpening the delivery, widening the reach, deepening the skill, compounds in a way that hourly effort simply cannot replicate. That is not a sequence of steps. That is a single integrated movement from knowing your value to releasing it into a structure that works while you are not watching. Henry Ford issued a warning that has grown more relevant with every passing decade. He watched men spend their entire lives accumulating the symbol of money while losing contact with the substance. The substance is productive capacity. The substance is human ingenuity applied to genuine need. Ford built systems. He did not chase capital. He created the conditions under which capital had no choice but to concentrate around the value he was producing. The man who mistakes the map for the territory, who believes money itself is the source of security, can have everything taken from him because everything he has is denominated in a symbol whose value is controlled by others. The man whose wealth is rooted in the irreplaceable value he creates cannot be bankrupted in the same way. His source is interior. His source is inexhaustible. The wealthiest person in any room is not the one with the most money. It is the one who could lose it all and rebuild fastest. Everything in this video converges on a single truth that Napoleon Hill spent 20 years trying to communicate to a world that kept looking for shortcuts. The wealth you desire is not withheld from you. It is not blocked by the economy, by your age, or by the failures that preceded this moment. It is blocked by a frequency, a set of deeply embedded assumptions about scarcity, competition, and unworthiness installed in you long before you had the capacity to evaluate them. And like any frequency, they can be changed, not by wishing, but by deliberate, sustained, disciplined practice. The instruction of Matthew 6:33 is not a religious formality. It is a metaphysical law authored by infinite intelligence itself. Seek first the kingdom, the domain of highest contribution, and all these things would follow as natural consequence. The law is perfect. The law is still operative. It has never been suspended by inflation, by market crashes, or by any force the scarcity economy can generate. Napoleon Hill encoded this law in secular language so that it could reach the minds of men trained to distrust spiritual truth. He called the source infinite intelligence. He called the method a definite major purpose backed by burning desire, organized into a plan, held with faith. But the architecture is identical. Orient your mind and your activity toward the creation of genuine value. Align with the source. Deliver consistently and trust the law to complete the circuit. The scarcity economy wants your attention fixed on prices, on competitors, on your bank balance, on fear. That contracted defensive posture is the scarcity code. It is the program running beneath every financial frustration you have ever experienced. Carnegie broke that code by delivering more value than he received in exchange at every level of his enterprise. Ford broke it by refusing to mistake the symbol of money for the substance of productive capacity. Napoleon Hill decoded it for the rest of us by mapping the inner terrain, the mental and spiritual conditions under which infinite intelligence flows through a human life and generates material abundance as a natural byproduct. The 90-day Kingdom Business Challenge is not a motivational exercise, it is a laboratory. For 90 days, every decision you make, every hour you invest, every move you consider runs through one filter only. Is this contributing value or extracting it? That single question, applied without negotiation, will reorganize your financial life from the inside out. The law does not fail. It only awaits the alignment of the mind that chooses to engage it. Do not let another year pass in the scarcity code. If this message has reached something true inside you, then you belong in this community. Subscribe to Napoleon Hill Wealth Code. Join the growing number of men and women who have committed to understanding and applying the deepest principles of prosperity, not as theory, but as a daily operating system. Every week, this channel goes deeper into the architecture of abundance, the intersection of ancient wisdom and modern application, and the practical tools that Hill, Carnegie, Ford, and the great masters of human potential used to convert intention into legacy. Subscribe now. This is your community. And remember the words Napoleon Hill left us: whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. That is not a slogan, it is a law. And the mind that conceives a life of abundance, that believes in the inexhaustible generosity of infinite intelligence, that aligns its daily activity with the creation of real value in the world, that mind does not merely hope for wealth. It becomes the instrument through which wealth is created.